So SLS is the name of the binding system on here, which stands for spring-loaded suspension. If you guys notice on this binding, most snowshoe companies out there just have a fixed metal pin, where they have just little metal loops right here, so your foot's just gonna waddle back and forth. Not really how you walk, so it's a little bit of a foreign thing for people to feel. It doesn't feel 100% comfortable. Because this is on a rubber strap like so, this thing will move in a bunch of different directions. Obviously it's a little bit harder with my hands on it, but when you have the full weight bearing your foot on there, you can get this thing to move in a bunch of different directions. So that's going to be one advantage of it, is just the natural articulation. It feels like a more natural walking stride when you're inside of Atlas snowshoes. The other thing to point out to customers is note when I put pressure on this stomp pad here, the entire binding pushes below the deck of the snowshoe. So the deck's going to be sitting on the snow. You're pushing down on this, and this is going to bite into the snow, so you get deeper crampon penetration because you do have this flexible rubber strap. You don't have a metal pin that's going to stop you from getting deep crampon penetration. With those fixed metal pins, you're basically rear crampon, front, rear, front. This thing, the whole thing's going to lock in and really engage a lot better. Makes it more efficient. You don't slip and fall, you don't fall on your face, all that good stuff. Other thing to note on SLS is notice when I hold this, the snowshoe doesn't fall down. Most snowshoes, when you hold the front of this, it's just going to swing down like this. On a cold day, it does not feel good on your shin. And also what it's going to do is it kind of just drags the snowshoe along as you're walking. This will stay upright. It's also going to, if you're trying to get over something, an obstacle, you pick your foot up and the whole snowshoe will come with you. You don't have this thing just hitting on the ground and bumping into things. Side hailing is another thing we're talking about. If you're on a slope and you're fighting gravity, if the snowshoe's like this and you're going to almost fall downhill, this will roll in a little bit. So it kind of flattens your foot out. It kind of makes it more comfortable when you're side hailing across something. So you guys notice pretty fierce spring in the back of this because that really is a tight tension on that rubber. But what that spring does is it actually helps, as you get a momentum going, it kind of helps propel you forward. It kind of keeps you moving and gives you a little bit of momentum moving forward. It also helps to kick snow out of this rear cleat. So as you're hiking, that thing's going to fling up and it's going to pop out some of the snow, which is pretty important in the Sierras with that heavier snow we have. So it really helps to push snow out of there and pop it out. You also have an anti-bod on the bottom of this crampon, so as you walk, it'll actually help to push snow out of there. Every so often, if the snow's wet and heavy enough, you just take your pole, smack on the side, and it's going to be able to clear out a lot of that snow. So that's the main story with the bindings. The only variation in the bindings is going to be in the 8 and 9 series. You guys will see on the binding it says FRS. So instead of spring-loaded suspension, this stands for free rotation suspension. All the same attributes I just talked about, those play into this binding. The only difference is if you guys see right here, you see how that's not connected? The bolt doesn't go through the plastic and doesn't go through here. Where on this one, it's all a single piece. You guys kind of see that difference there? So basically what we did on this 8 and 9 series still has that spring in the back of it, but you guys can just see from me flinging it, it's a lot less intense. So you don't have as much snow flicking up. The Atlas should have an 8 series, 9 series, 10 series, 11 series, and 12 series. There's a few niche outliers, like the Race and the Run series, which are more for trail running in the snow. And you also have the Aspect model-wise. So your 8 and 9 series, trail walking. That's kind of the category you're going to use for that. Fire roads, I just go out of my cabin to get to the propane tank. I'm really just on mellow terrain walking my dog. I'm not going up. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 just basically means as you go up through the models, it becomes a higher end snowshoe. Second number is going to be the inch length measurement. So men's snowshoes come in a 25 inch, 30 inch, and 35 inch. You will know the dude that needs a 35 inch snowshoe. It will be a presence in your store. But the weight ranges is how you're going to judge basically how the snowshoes work out. So a 25 inch snowshoe is about 120 to 200 pounds. It's most dudes. A 30 inch snowshoe is about 160 to 250. So you have that gray area, that 160 to 200 range where you could go either way, carry a 30-pound pack, go with a bigger snowshoe. I only go out on 3-foot powder days. Kind of weird, but go with a bigger snowshoe. Women's models are going to come in a 23 inch and a 27 inch for women, and they're all going to call the Elektra series, the Atlas Elektra series. It was a women's snowshoeing team. Difference with women's is obviously the inch length measurement. A 23 is going to be like 80 to 150. A 27 is going to be like 120 to 190 range. If you're ever just not sure, like what size should I go, just go smaller. I'd rather have a person sink an inch in the snow and have less snowshoe to carry around. It's a little bit easier for them to deal with. So you guys can see the difference in the shape. A little bit narrower on there because their stride is not going to be as wide, and also the toe width is going to be narrower too, just because their feet in general are going to be narrower than guys' feet. They're all marked left and right, so on the inside you're really going to see a little R stamp. The other way is just buckles always go to the outside. So your plastic piece is always around the outside. So actually 8, 9, 10, 11 all use 6000 series aluminum. Aspect and 12 use 7000 series aluminum. 7000 series is a little bit lighter, a little bit stronger. Also, none of these snowshoes are connected. If you notice, the back of these all come to this plastic piece. And the reason is because it's a reactive aluminum. So the idea is, if you have a bigger guy in here flexing these on kind of different terrain, the entire frame will actually bend and flex. That way nothing snaps. If this is all one fixed piece, you might have times where it's really cold where this stuff snaps in half. So it actually is a movable frame. So, going through the different models, you have your 8 series and your 9, again, trail walking, that real basic customer. Foot goes in here, make sure you clear that decking. I've had people shove their foot all the way and they're stuck underneath here, and then there's a million things that can go wrong. But basically, your foot goes in here, pull this thing, tighten it up, done deal. Open it up, like so. It does have a DWR treatment on the nylon, so it will resist some water. If it's raining out and really gross, they can get a little nasty. You can also loosen up sometimes, so if people are hiking, just have them reach down and yank on this, tighten it up. And you guys just have a real simple little strap option on the back. Real basic. Tempered steel on the bottom here is a real basic crampon. 8 series up to the 9 series, same aluminum, same decking. The decking is called Nitec, the higher end is called Duratec. Good, better story, basically, on the durability of this. So with the 9 series, you guys can see you get an added rear crampon. If you guys kind of look at these, you can figure out what these crampons do. This is more flat terrain. This gives you the ability to walk downhill without slipping. This will actually bite into your downhill snow to kind of give you, so you're not sliding down the hill. Besides that, the only big difference is going to be this plastic molded binding. You guys see it's a little bit easier, kind of is open and saying, put your foot in here. It's a little more accepting. Foot goes in here, yank, adjust this, done deal.
That's nice.
Open, done deal. Real simple. So 10 series snowshoe is going to get you into the mountain hiking category, so people that want to go a little bit more uphill. Things that make this a little more viable for going uphill, heel throw. So if you're walking uphill all day, you can imagine what your calf's going through. A lot of calf fatigue, a lot of stretch on that Achilles tendon. By throwing this up, you're flattening your foot out, less calf fatigue, and you're also digging that rear crampon system in. Also, we beef up the crampon system a little bit on the 10 series by having side rails. So if you're walking across a slope, this will help to grab in to keep you from sliding down this way. And then you have your teeth kind of oriented this way. If you're walking downhill, these will bite in to keep them from sliding. So hands down, anyone going uphill, going to the backcountry, start them on the 10 series. Going from the 10 series, you move up to the 11 series. On the 11 series, it's everything I just talked about with the 10 series, but you have a stainless steel crampon on the back, so it's a little bit lighter weight option. You have a little bit more going on with the different configurations of the crampon. 12 series is the Mac Daddy of the snowshoes. So 7000 series aluminum, Duratec material, just a burlier top sheet on this. You have your heel throw. You have your pretty burly crampon system on the bottom, but the binding on this is just super slick. You guys can see it's a silicone wrap, so it doesn't have that nylon anymore. So your foot goes in, yank tight, you have an auto cam here, locks, done deal. So really, really slick system. It's completely waterproof. To open this, pull this tab, slide your foot open. Other nice feature on this is the fact that you can move this up and down the teeth and get this situated exactly where you want. So depending on the person's foot, you can move this and kind of get it situated on the outside of their foot, wherever it feels comfortable. So a little bit of an auto adjust on there. Some of the outliers in the gang. The Aspect is definitely more our specific backcountry mountaineer, backcountry snowboard option. On this one, it's called Reactive Track. So it's a 7000 series aluminum. It's that higher end Duratec, so it's the same decking as the 12 series. You guys can just see you have the serrated edges all the way around the perimeter of this. We have it across, and now we also have SLS binding. So I think we're giving you a much better binding. Caps on the side here, so you're not stepping over and breaking this strap with these little razors on the edge. And you guys can see the way we do the binding system on this is we're trying to make this as wide as possible. So the idea on this is going to fit a snowboard boot or a larger mountaineering boot, but you basically get this where you need, slide your boot in there, this hooks into this, basically ends up being like a little bit of a Z formation. So you just kind of feed it through these two pieces right here, then lack it back in over this little piece, sort of like a volet strap. So you can get a pretty large boot in here, and you have this option back here. The reason we do this one is because they pack flat. It's really hard to get this binding completely packed flat. You can see you can finagle it, but it has to, you're pushing it down, whereas that one is perfectly flat. so you can stack one on top of it. It comes with a belay strap. So the idea is basically if they're on your back, they're real compact and simple. So that's why they do the binding system like that. Oh, and also too, on the Aspect, 24-inch and a 28-inch. You can pretty much size them up the same as a 25 and a 30, but they are unisex. We don't do a women's model yet in the backcountry option. Race in the run. So our titanium racing snowshoe. You guys know the massive uptick in trail running. Most of those guys that are trail running and doing ultras all summer want to run all winter. There's a running snowshoe. Pretty mellow on the traction. 22-inch only. You don't need tons of flotation because most of these guys aren't running in powder. They're usually running like on groomed trails or at the Nordic centers, so you don't really need all that flotation. But also hopping through the snow, they don't have much chance to really sink as they're running because the gate's so quick. Real simple system on this. You get that silicone wrap. The run model comes in at 170. A little bit different binding system. You go to nylon, but it's an aluminum, so obviously you're going to save some money going with an aluminum. These both have SLS. Then the new one out is the Fitness, which has the FRS. Dog walker. Grandma walking on the golf course in Tahoe Donner just kind of wants a traction system with a little bit of flotation. That's why this was created. Doesn't think she needs a full-out snowshoe necessarily, but just something to kind of get her around. So that's where this Fitness one came into play. And these are all going to be 22-inch ones only. The idea with all three of these is you're not going to be in deep snow. Your idea is you're somewhere on a fire road or somewhere with mellower snow where you just need a little bit of a traction system. Maintenance on these, not much to do. When you get out of the snow, just click them together, get the snow off there. It's all anodized steel, so it's not really going to rust. Only thing you might see go on every so often, people do sometimes break these plastic buckles. They'll just throw them against things in like cold places and these will hit. It's all replaceable.